What if one of the biggest moves in modern Memphis rap wasn't just about talent, but about settling an old score? For years, fans believed Gucci Mane signing Pooh Shiesty was simply a smart industry decision, a label boss spotting raw potential and turning it into platinum success. But now, a new claim is shaking that narrative to its core. According to Stan G, this deal might have been driven by something far deeper and far more personal, a lingering beef connected to Yo Gotti and long-standing Memphis street politics. If that's true, then this wasn't just a record deal. It was a message that said old rivalries never really die, they just evolve. In a city where loyalty is everything and history is never forgotten, even business moves can double as strategic shots in a silent war. Was Pooh Shiesty's rise purely organic, or was he unknowingly positioned at the center of a power play between two rap empires? This isn't just about Gucci Mane, Yo Gotti, or Pooh Shiesty. It's about how the lines between music, money, and street legacy blur when past grudges resurface in the present. If industry decisions are being influenced by decade-old tensions, then every cosign, every feature, and every contract could carry hidden meaning. So the real question is, was this a coincidence, or calculated retaliation disguised as opportunity? And if Stan G is even partly right, the Memphis rap game may be more strategic and more ruthless than anyone realized. And if that idea sounds extreme, that's exactly why it has people talking. Because in hip-hop, especially in cities with deep roots like Memphis, nothing ever happens in a vacuum. Moves that look simple on the surface often carry years of history behind them. When a major artist signs a buzzing new talent, fans usually credit business instincts, timing, and raw skill. But sometimes, the streets read those same moves very differently. After Stan G's comments started circulating, a new narrative began forming among fans and bloggers. What if this signing wasn't just about building a roster, but about shifting power? Memphis has long been split into different camps, different alliances, different eras of dominance. Yo Gotti built CMG into a powerhouse that shaped the sound and direction of the city for years. On the other side, Gucci Mane's 1017 became a pipeline for new street voices, often pulling talent from the same environments and audiences. Even without direct diss tracks, that kind of overlap naturally creates tension. Two giants, two brands, both claiming influence over the same territory. Into that environment stepped Pooh Shiesty. His arrival wasn't quiet. From the moment his records started ringing out of cars and clubs, it felt like a shift. The energy was raw, aggressive, unapologetically Memphis. When Gucci Mane stamped him with the 1017 cosign, it instantly amplified that momentum. Overnight, Shiesty wasn't just a local name buzzing in the streets. He was a national conversation. At the time, most people saw it as classic Gucci Mane AR genius. He had done it before. Spot hunger early, cosign it loudly, and let the streets do the rest. But Stan G's claim reframes that moment. Instead of just Gucci found the next star, the story becomes Gucci made a move on a chessboard. Because if old tensions with Yo Gotti or his circle were still lingering in the background, then signing one of the city's hottest new voices could look less like coincidence and more like positioning. Not a direct attack, not an open war, but a symbolic statement. 1017 has a stake in Memphis too. That interpretation changes how people look at everything that followed. Suddenly, every lyric about loyalty, every shout-out, every side chosen by affiliates starts to feel heavier. Fans begin rewatching interviews, rereading old posts, trying to connect dots that may or may not have ever been intended to connect. That's the nature of rap beef culture. Perception can be just as powerful as reality. It also highlights how hip-hop business and street credibility constantly feed into each other. Labels don't just sign artists for streams, they sign them for influence. And influence in a city like Memphis isn't neutral. It belongs to neighborhoods, to histories, to crews that go back years. When an artist blows up, he carries all of that with him whether he wants to or not. Pooh Shiesty's rise felt like a new chapter for the city. Young, fearless, and viral, he quickly became one of the faces of a new Memphis wave. That alone could naturally be seen as a shift away from the previous era dominated by other camps. Even without any explicit beef, success itself can redraw invisible lines. This is why Stan G's words hit so hard. He isn't just suggesting pettiness, he's suggesting intention. The idea that a major label move doubled as a subtle answer to old rivalries turns a business decision into a cultural moment. It suggests that behind closed doors, history still talks. But there's another side to this story. Gucci Mane has built a reputation on spotting raw talent across different cities, not just in one camp or one clique. From Atlanta to Memphis to beyond, his brand has often thrived on being the outsider who empowers new voices. Seen from that angle, signing Pooh Shiesty could simply be consistent with his pattern, find what's hot in the streets and give it a bigger stage. In that reading, there is no secret plot, no hidden jab at anyone. Just opportunity meeting preparation. Memphis had a star in the making, and 1017 moved faster than everyone else. The truth might live somewhere between those two extremes. Hip-hop history is full of moments where business, ego, loyalty, and legacy overlap in messy ways. A decision can be smart commercially and still carry symbolic weight. Even if Gucci's main goal was building his label, the impact of that move in Memphis politics could still feel like a statement to observers on the outside. And in rap culture, feeling is often what matters most. If fans and artists perceive a move as a power play, it starts functioning like one regardless of the original intention. Narratives take on a life of their own. Blogs amplify them. Social media debates them. Rappers respond to them indirectly through bars and alliances. Before long, a simple signing turns into a chapter in an ongoing saga about who really runs the city. That's why this conversation refuses to die down. It taps into bigger questions. Who controls the pipeline of new talent? Who defines the sound of a city at any given moment? And when a new star rises under one banner instead of another, is that just music, or is that momentum shifting from one camp to the next? For Pooh Shiesty himself, the situation is even more complex. Artists often get pulled into narratives that existed long before they blew up. To the public, he might look like a symbol in a larger rivalry. To himself, he might simply be an artist who sees the biggest opportunity in front of him. Yet once success hits, neutrality becomes almost impossible. Every collaboration, every public appearance, every silence gets interpreted. In a landscape shaped by past tensions, even staying out of drama can be read as choosing a side. That's what makes Stan G's claims so explosive. It doesn't accuse anyone of direct wrongdoing. Instead, it reframes motivation. It invites fans to see strategy where they once saw coincidence, rivalry where they once saw routine business. Whether that framing is fair or not, it undeniably adds a new layer to the story of Memphis rap's current era. Because if big industry moves are influenced, even slightly, by old beefs and inherited loyalties, then the game isn't just about hits and charts. It's about legacy, territory, and the long memory of the streets. And once that idea enters the conversation, every future move between these camps will be watched through that same lens. That lens changes everything. Once fans start viewing label moves as potential chess plays in a long-running rivalry, even ordinary moments begin to look strategic. A feature here, a cosign there, an absence from a major event, all of it becomes evidence in the court of public opinion. In hip-hop, perception doesn't just reflect reality, it actively shapes it. In the weeks and months after Pooh Shiesty's breakout, the conversation around Memphis started to shift from who's hot right now to who really controls the future of the city. That's a heavier question than charts or streams. It's about influence over the next generation. Yo Gotti's CMG had already proven it could turn regional artists into national names. That success built a kind of institutional power. When an artist came up under that banner, it felt like they were stepping into an established lineage. Gucci Mane's 1017, on the other hand, represented disruption. It felt less like a continuation of an old guard and more like a new lane cutting through the middle of the map. So when Pooh Shiesty exploded under 1017, it didn't just introduce a star, it introduced a different pathway to the top. For young artists watching from Memphis neighborhoods, that mattered. It suggested there wasn't only one gate to walk through. That alone could create quiet tension, even without any personal animosity between the artists themselves. Power structures rarely like being bypassed. And in music cities with strong identities, the question of who puts the city on carries emotional weight. Stan G's framing pushes that idea further. If Gucci's move was even partially influenced by old rivalries, then the signing becomes a statement about independence from existing hierarchies. It says you don't need permission from the dominant camp to crown a new face of the city. From that angle, Pooh Shiesty's early run starts to look almost symbolic. His records didn't sound polished or industry-shaped. They sounded urgent, street-born, and unfiltered. That authenticity made fans feel like they were witnessing a grassroots takeover rather than a carefully managed rollout. And when grassroots energy meets major label resources, the impact multiplies. Suddenly, Memphis wasn't just producing hits, it was producing storylines. Every success of a 1017 artist could be interpreted as momentum for one side of an invisible divide. Every CMG move could be read as a response, even if neither camp publicly framed it that way. This is how rap beef evolves in the modern era. It isn't always diss tracks and interviews. Sometimes it's branding, partnerships, and who stands next to whom in photos. Silence can be louder than words because it leaves room for interpretation, and interpretation fuels speculation. The media ecosystem amplifies that. Speculation. Bloggers, streamers, and commentators dissect patterns the way sports analysts break down plays. They compare timelines, revisit old statements, and build narratives that make the culture feel like an unfolding drama series. In that environment, Stan G's comments act like a spark in dry grass. They don't need hard proof to spread, they need resonance. And the idea that long memories influence present-day deals resonates deeply in a genre built on loyalty and reputation. At the same time, it's important to remember how often success stories get rewritten after the fact. When an artist blows up, people search for hidden masterminds and secret strategies. But many careers are built on simpler foundations: chemistry in the studio, songs that connect, and moments that catch fire at the right time. Pooh Shiesty's breakthrough records connected instantly because they felt real. Fans quoted the lyrics, DJs spun them nonstop, and social media turned verses into captions and memes. That organic wave might have carried him forward regardless of any background tensions. Yet hip-hop rarely lets a story stay simple. The culture thrives on layers, on the idea that there's always more beneath the surface. Even if the signing began as pure business, the surrounding history gives it extra meaning in hindsight. That extra meaning affects how future moves are interpreted. If Gucci Mane signs another Memphis artist, people may wonder whether it's another strategic grab. If CMG elevates a new voice from the city, some will see it as reclaiming ground. The narrative, once created, becomes a permanent filter. For the artists caught inside it, that filter can be both empowering and limiting. On one hand, being part of a larger storyline brings attention and urgency. On the other, it can overshadow the music itself, turning every release into a perceived statement in a rivalry they might not personally feel. There's also the reality that hip-hop today is more interconnected than ever. Collaborations cross city lines constantly. Producers, engineers, and writers float between camps. Behind the scenes, professional relationships often stay cordial even when fan narratives paint pictures of total opposition. That contrast between public drama and private pragmatism is one of the genre's defining tensions. Business demands cooperation, culture rewards competition. Navigating both at once requires careful balance. If Gucci Mane's decision had any element of old score settling, it likely wasn't the only factor. Labels think in terms of potential, brand fit, and long-term return. A talented, buzzing artist checks all those boxes on his own. Rivalries might add flavor to the story, but they don't replace the fundamentals. Still, flavor matters. In entertainment, story can accelerate success by giving audiences something bigger to invest in than just songs. A narrative of shifting power in Memphis turns each track into part of a larger saga. Listeners aren't only hearing music, they're following a chapter. That may explain why the debate refuses to settle. It sits at the intersection of two truths: the practical logic of the music business and the emotional logic of hip-hop culture. One says the signing was smart AR. The other says no move in a city with that much history is ever neutral. As new artists continue to rise from Memphis, that tension will likely keep resurfacing. Each breakout star will be measured against past eras and future expectations. Each label move will be weighed for both business sense and symbolic impact. In that sense, Stan G's claim does more than reinterpret one moment. It invites fans to see the entire landscape as a living map of alliances and memories. It suggests that the future of the city is being negotiated not just through hits, but through positioning. Whether or not the original motivation was petty, calculated, or purely opportunistic may never be definitively known. But the power of the idea lies in how it reframes the conversation. It turns a single signing into a lens for understanding how hip-hop cities evolve, how influence shifts, and how history echoes inside present-day success. And once that reframing takes hold, every new development feels like another move on the board. Every collaboration, every feature, every public appearance becomes a calculated piece in a larger story, whether the artists intended that way or not. In Memphis, as in many hip-hop cities, perception carries as much weight as reality. What the streets believe can define careers almost as much as talent or business strategy. Pooh Shiesty's trajectory exemplifies this tension. While his skills and charisma were undeniable, the narrative surrounding his rise transformed him into more than just an artist. Overnight, he became a symbol, a representation of shifting influence in the city, a tangible example of how one label can stake a claim in a contested territory. For fans watching closely, this narrative deepened their engagement. Each new track wasn't just music, it was evidence in a larger debate about power, loyalty, and legacy. From Gucci Mane's perspective, even if Stan G's claims are partially true, the move likely had multiple motivations. Beyond potential rivalry with Yo Gotti's camp, signing Shiesty made business sense. It ensured 1017 remained relevant, secured a hot new voice with massive street credibility, and brought attention to the label in both industry circles and mainstream media. In hip-hop, those two goals often overlap. Business and street legitimacy feed into each other. A successful artist elevates a label's reputation, and a respected label can, in turn, protect and amplify the artist. Yo Gotti, meanwhile, didn't remain silent. Even without directly calling out Gucci or Shiesty, CMG's continued dominance in Memphis and strategic signings reinforced the ongoing rivalry, the subtle, invisible type. In rap, battles aren't always fought with diss tracks, they are also waged with marketing campaigns, strategic features, and carefully timed releases. When the public observes these moves, the narrative of conflict grows, regardless of whether a personal feud truly exists. The fans, of course, are essential to this equation. Social media turns these moments into living debates. TikTok clips, Instagram threads, and YouTube reaction videos dissect every lyric, gesture, or omission. The interpretation often becomes more important than the action itself. A single post about Pooh Shiesty's signing or Gucci Mane's intentions can spark thousands of reactions, turning a behind-the-scenes business decision into a viral discussion about loyalty, power, and legacy. And this is why Stan G's revelation, or even the suggestion, is so powerful. It doesn't need concrete evidence to shape perception. Hip-hop thrives on storytelling, and sometimes the most potent narratives are those that blend fact, speculation, and history. Fans will piece together interviews, old disputes, and social media commentary to create a comprehensive story, one that may feel entirely accurate, even if the full truth remains unknown. This pattern has repeated itself countless times in rap history. From the East Coast-West Coast era to modern-day city-based rivalries, subtle moves often carry weight far beyond what outsiders realize. A signing, a cosign, or a collaboration can symbolize alignment, defiance, or ambition. The context surrounding these moves gives them meaning, and meaning fuels engagement, discussion, and ultimately attention, which is the currency of modern hip-hop. Looking back, Pooh Shiesty's signing seems to have functioned on multiple levels simultaneously. It propelled a talented artist into the spotlight, bolstered Gucci Mane's relevance, and intentionally or not reshaped perceptions of Memphis' musical landscape. Every record he released, every interview he gave, and every public appearance fed into the larger story of influence and alignment in the city. And as with most hip-hop narratives, the story continues to evolve with each new development. It's also important to note how the modern music industry amplifies these dynamics. Social media ensures that fans don't just passively consume music, they actively participate in the narrative. A track isn't just judged on its bars or beat, it's analyzed for its cultural significance, interpreted for hidden messages, and contextualized within ongoing rivalries. For Shiesty and his peers, this means that every action carries weight, and every move can be scrutinized through multiple lenses: artistic, business, and cultural. As the years progress, historians of the genre may look back at this period as a critical moment in Memphis rap, the point where old legacies, new stars, and industry strategy collided. The way 1017 positioned itself, the way CMG responded, and the way fans consumed and debated these developments will likely serve as a case study in how influence and perception operate in hip-hop culture. For Gucci Mane, the lesson is clear: talent alone isn't enough. Legacy, timing, and strategic positioning all matter. By signing Pooh Shiesty, he not only secured a rising star, but also sent a message, intentional or otherwise, about 1017's continued influence in Memphis. The narrative surrounding the move may overshadow the music itself, but in hip-hop, narrative is part of the power game. For Pooh Shiesty, the challenge is balancing this symbolism with his own artistic identity. While fans may view him as a key piece in a larger Memphis chessboard, his responsibility is to his craft, his audience, and his personal growth. Navigating the pressures of public perception while maintaining authenticity is a tightrope walk, one that many artists face, but few master completely. For Gotti and CMG, the situation underscores the importance of vigilance in a competitive industry. Even when a rival isn't openly hostile, strategic decisions by others can influence perceptions, sway loyalties, and challenge existing dominance. Maintaining relevance requires not just talent, but foresight, timing, and the ability to respond subtly when necessary. Ultimately, this story isn't just about Gucci Mane, Pooh Shiesty, or Gotti. It's about the mechanics of influence, perception, and legacy in hip-hop. It illustrates how decisions that appear simple, like signing a new artist, can ripple outward, impacting alliances, fan perspectives, and cultural narratives. It's a reminder that in rap, as in life, actions are rarely isolated. Each move carries consequences, intended or not, and every participant becomes part of a story larger than themselves. As the narrative continues to unfold, one thing is certain: Memphis is watching, the streets are talking, and hip-hop fans around the world are paying attention. The interplay between legacy, loyalty, and strategy ensures that no signing, no feature, and no move goes unnoticed. In a genre where history, reputation, and influence intersect so tightly, even a single decision can reverberate for years, shaping careers, city dynamics, and the culture at large. And while the truth behind Gucci Mane's motivations may never be fully known, the impact of that move and the conversations it sparked will continue to define this chapter of Memphis rap for the foreseeable future. This is why, when Stan G speaks, people listen. Because in hip-hop, stories like this aren't just rumors, they're part of the cultural fabric. They frame how fans interpret music, how artists navigate the industry, and how history is remembered. What started as a single signing has become a symbol of everything that makes Memphis rap both unpredictable and unforgettable, a blend of talent, strategy, loyalty, and the invisible lines that separate influence from power. And that's the legacy of the moment, a reminder that in the world of rap, no move is ever truly just business. Every decision carries history, every decision carries weight, and every decision becomes part of a story bigger than any one artist alone.